Hi everyone. In today's short video, I helped my niece and nephew prepare for movers by helping to clean out their expired foods from their refrigerator and also the foods in their pantry that was open. So join me on this quick little video and clean out, and let's have a chat. All right, we are jumping in. So basically, I'm just looking at the expiration dates and trying to sort like things with like. They are moving to 2 states away, and that makes me very sad because I treasure them, and they have a little one who has Bluey playing in the background. So I'm having to do a voiceover through all of this because of that precious little one. Now, I do smell items, as you can see. I will tell you there is one item that I find that I absolutely regret smelling. It was so bad. I think it was like a creamed corn that had gone bad. So I can tell that both of them work and lead busy lives because we had been there a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of the leftovers that we left them so they wouldn't have to cook dinner, they were still in there and no longer good. We only keep leftovers about a week and then throw them out. And they were good leftovers too. Pulled pork, and I had made carne guisada, which is kind of a beef with a gravy that would be great in a tortilla or over rice. And there was even a little bit of salad left. So I don't fault them. I know they're busy just trying to survive. They had so much going on, including interviews taking place to prepare them for this huge cross-state move. So what else can I tell you about this? There were some things that I left in there because I thought they were still good and might be having them for lunch, and they can pack things on their own too. They were going to take a small U-Haul trailer, and so they had some ice chests, so I didn't want to throw everything away. The condiments and things like that, they should be able to transport. Now I'm shifting over to their tiny pantry, and it is tiny. Now, the movers that were coming in to pack things up would not pack any open food items. So if they were open, we just had to cut our losses and let them go. Now, there were a few things that I decided to take home with me. One was just regular white vinegar, and the other was apple cider vinegar. And I also took their open dog treats and brought them to my mother-in-law for her dog. But anything else that was in here that was open, we went ahead and trashed. We also just checked expiration dates. And I also created a little snack bag that they could take on the road with them. And it was things like nuts and candies, I think a protein bar, but it was really just labor intensive. I probably spent an hour and a half doing the refrigerator, this pantry, and I will jump over to the cabinet that has the spices and do those as well. And I think the oldest thing that I found in all of this was 2020, I believe. What you just saw was just the container of plasticware, and really the only thing left in there was like 3 spoons and knives. So it was not going to be worth moving those. Now, if this is not the video you had planned on seeing, I can link you to my pantry video where I did my own pantry, and you can be entertained by that. I will tell you, for this one, I wasn't even going to film it, and you see me talking to someone off camera. That's actually my niece's sister, and I am asking her opinion on some things because I want to know if they want to take it in the U-Haul or if I should just go ahead and trash it. And some of that is going to be decided upon on how much is it going to cost to replace it. And I think that's a very valid point. You can't necessarily keep everything. This was some chocolates that it was maybe 1/4 of a box. I end up throwing that away. Those chips were open, the white chocolate chips. So those were easier decisions. They can replace them, and it's just kind of the cost of doing a move, and that's okay. You have to give yourself grace. You have to pick the battles that you want to undertake of what's going to take your time, your energy, and is it worth it to you? So while I was making a lot of the decisions on my own, I did want to confer periodically on things I thought they might want to reconsider. She's got some great Ziploc bags. That's going to go in the snack bag. This is where I talk about, let's create one. And it was successful. She has a candy bag. They're potty training, and if my great niece does potty correctly by proactively going, they get a little candy treat. And they're not big candies. They're like the little Smarties and a variety of candies. So that's how they are treating that. And it had been going well. I think there was a little bit of a regression just because of the move and all the activities. And I totally get that. This channel is all about grace, giving it, and yes, receiving it. My niece is actually quite healthy sometimes, and other times you've got chips. But that was some bone broth that I had, a really good quality bone broth. And, I think they've got a normal pantry where you have treats for yourself and then staples. And because they just moved last year, it wasn't a lot of expired. Now, when we get to the spices, that's a whole nother story. I just grabbed this box she had and started putting some things in it. I'll start moving some more things around. I just don't know how they're going to pack a lot of the jellies and the pickles that have been given to her either by my sister or by myself. And so I'll start rearranging those in that wooden box that you have right there. It didn't hold all of them, but it held some and it felt a little sturdier. I was just checking that jar because I made 2 different recipes of patty pan squash that was pickled, and one of the recipes was terrible and the other one was good. So that jar was the good one. If it had been the one that was terrible, I would have thrown it out and not put her through that torture. And you'll see on this bottom shelf, she's got like flour and powdered sugar and all of that. I end up opening those and throwing the contents out and going ahead and washing those. I do know that she too is trying to get rid of plastics, and that she had some containers that were glass already on order, but they were back ordered. So she's got to try to see if they can make it to her new home instead of to her old address, which is where she originally had it scheduled to be delivered. So lots of little details when you move and things like that are just a little unexpected. Now we're moving over to the spices, but I just have to mention at the end of that last video, I had to cut it off because my great niece had come over to see what her Auntie Joyce was doing. So she popped in, and I'm keeping her anonymous, so I had to switch off. Now, here, as I mentioned, they moved last year, and they moved a lot of expired spices, because as I go through here, I am finding a lot that are expired from 2020 to 2023 and 2024. Now, I am one that I take an expiration date as the goodbye date. And if it is something like cumin and it is within a year after that date, I will still use it. So I didn't draw a hard and fast line on if it was beyond that date, it got trashed. But if it was a year or more beyond the date, then I did go ahead and trash it. So we end up, I think, with just about one shelf of spices by the time that I am done. And I know she had other things like baking spices like cloves and allspice and things like that you could, in theory, steep on the stove in the winter or fall when you want your home to smell nice. But again, just by the fact that she's moving, you have to pick your battles. And those were ones that I did not think she needed to be paying movers to move, or even herself to move. They can just start over fresh, and that's okay. Now, I just took a taste of crystallized ginger, and the expiration date was passed, but I've made crystallized ginger at home, and it lasts a really long time, and I just wanted to try it, and it was still good, so I kept it. If you haven't had it, it's really good for an upset stomach, plus it just tastes good. Let me know in the comments if crystallized ginger is something you have eaten before. And besides just eating it, is there anything else that you use it for? I should have asked her if there were specific recipes she used it in, but I've just always eaten it raw or as it is. Let me know. So this little basket now contains all of the baking type of spices and not the savory ones. And now we're going to go through this little turntable and see what is still good in here and what needs to be trashed. She did have a duplicate of something. One of them was expired and the other wasn't. I think it was like a garlic powder. But for the most part, things like the dill was expired. It was just a mixture. These are where I found some of the older dated items. Now, I've gone through my spices personally recently. I can tell you I probably should go through the ones that I have for pickling now that that season is coming back up, and make sure that the extras I have are current and that I use the oldest ones first, because I do know I have quite a bit of supply because they do sell out during peak pickling season. Let me know if you can or if you pickle and if you have the same challenge. Congratulations, you have made it almost to the end. I appreciate you so much for sticking with me as we helped my niece and my nephew out. Instead of them being 2 hours away, they are now going to be 9 to 10 hours away by car. So it is going to make it a little more challenging to see them, but we adore them and we miss them already. All right, guys, that's the video for helping my niece and my nephew. I know this wasn't the normal video, but thank y'all so much for watching. It always is good to help others in need, and we know that moving and changing jobs can be big stressors. So I'm so glad that I was able to help them. Thanks so much for watching. I'm going to close like my dad always closed his voicemail messages. Bye for now.